Hey, this is Matt Cain with the San Francisco Giants, and you guys are listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! Let's go Giants!
Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Welcome to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. We're, what is this, episode 87 tonight. In fact, we're going to be live recording this sucker while we're watching the Giants lose to the Pirates right now. It's been a couple of weeks since we recorded. Willie's not going to be here tonight. He's actually in the box, in the booth tonight, covering the game. But tonight, all the way back from the land down under, is Ben Fried-Lee. Ben, welcome back, man.
Yeah, and it's good to be back. I did get to watch a decent amount of Giants baseball out there, but it was weird because everything was a day game when you're in Australia. Like, either it's an early day game or it's a midday game, and so you're walking around trying to listen to the game, and the sun is out and really bright, and they're like, real cold night here at the park, and I'm like, no, it's not. The perspective is very strange when your time zone shifts by 7 hours.
Yeah, you start getting used to that, right? Especially when you're seeing everything at night and you're watching it during the day, it kind of throws you off. I mean, even just going back to
coming
Hawaii,
back and having games at night again was coming back and having games at night again was there was a little bit of a transition period. I was like, wait, no, that's the regular time now, and now the games I was watching in Australia are at 11 at night or 2 in the morning. Okay, got it.
Well, and how long were you down there, by the way?
Nearly a month.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends whose couches I could crash on. Had been saving up vacation time at work for 2 years. Been saving up for the flight ticket for a year and a half. I mean, there was a lot of planning that went into it, but it paid off. It was a ton of fun, and it was very interesting. And I was trying to keep a running tally. I think all over Australia, I probably ran into about, not counting gear that was for sale, I ran into, I think, 7 or 8 Giants caps, and I think 2 Dodgers caps, maybe 3.
Oh, it's good to hear that balance.
So, besides the fact that the only baseball jersey I found for sale at one point was a Dodgers jersey, but besides that, Australia seems to have its priorities pretty straight. So I'll probably go back sometime. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Felt very welcome spotting Giants caps around Sydney and random places in Adelaide. I found there was a guy in Adelaide. In Adelaide, South Australia of all places, in a Curry jersey that just walked past me. And I was just like, wait, what? And I literally yelled something about either go Dubs, go Warriors, or go Curry as he walked past me, and was just like, wait, you're where home team. I'm in Australia. What is happening? Right in the middle of the playoffs, of course, but it was a kick.
No, that's pretty cool. I've never been to Australia before, but it's strange when I was in Europe and seeing MLB and NFL kind of logo wear around the place. It definitely it's a worldwide sport, not as popular as soccer, of course. That is number one, but football and baseball definitely have their reaches.
Yeah.
But
baseball, baseball in Australia is the thing. That's why we got Travis Blackley.
Yeah, they have their own league, so.
Exactly. And that voice you heard is also one Eric Nathanson is joining us tonight all the way down from Florida. How you doing, Eric?
Oi. I'm in America's Australia.
Now, so we had Ben.
You're in the down under part of America.
So we had Ben in Australia for almost a month. And now we've had Eric living in Disney World for almost a month.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you're pretty much done. No, you're still going to continue with that, right?
I'm going to keep going. I've got a year pass, so I'm going to keep going on and off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're not paying for tickets every day, you may as well just roll in there anyway.
Oh, yeah. Make it worthwhile.
Now, what if you could do that with Giants games?
I can, and it costs a little less.
That's right.
I'm just going to leave it there.
Oh.
Okay, you leave it there.
It's sad because it's true.
It's sad because it's true. Oh, man.
If I lived in a city, I'd be with Willie right now. Let's just say that.
Hey, Willie is he's ramping it up. And for those of you who have been tuning into the Twitter account, I'm sure you've seen Willie he's been in the press box quite a bit lately. He's there tonight, and unbeknownst to us, he actually had one Justin Robert Young join him at BPN in the press box. In fact, Jury, which is his nickname, took over the TorchCast Twitter account tonight, so that's been kind of fun. So I think you can follow him at...
If you're wondering why the tweets tonight have been had a certain type of spice to them.
They have a certain spice to them.
We've got a certain spice. Something about an indie boner in there at one point.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, for Garrett.
You can follow Justin
It's
at
like,
Justin R. Young, but he's definitely got a little
nothing.
bit of a less mild lexicon, shall we say?
Yep.
But he's funny. It's funny.
Been interesting.
Yeah, he co-hosts a show called Night Attack with Brian Brushwood, who actually also has a show on the is it National Geographic Channel, I think. So he's a magician himself and a comedian. So those two guys do just a fantastic job on their podcast. You should check it out at Night Attack. Again, it's not safe for work. It's very vulgar, but very fun. They got a video addition to it. So it's pretty cool that Willie got him in there today because Justin lives actually in Oakland. So I'm sure it was pretty easy to get him over here. Justin's really into a bunch of the video game stuff that Willie and I are into, including Hearthstone and WoW and other things like that. So that's kind of the connection there. But
Right.
But check it out. So
we've got them both at the park tonight.
That's
Yeah.
right. So we got a lot of Giants to talk about. We haven't recorded in 2 weeks. Eric and I were pretty excited about, what were they, 20-18, I think, when
I think
we recorded last?
They just pushed over 500, I think. Hunter just came back.
Yeah, I believe they were 20-18 because we had talked about the previous podcast or two podcasts prior to that. They were 4-10, which is their low water mark for the season. And we said, hey, look, let's not panic until we get to the quarter mark of the season, which is 40 games. And if they're close to 20-20 and Hunter's coming back, everything's going to be fine. And so that last podcast, they were 20-18 because they had that remarkable run. And everything was roses. Hunter had come back. They were almost undefeated with him. They were right where everything wanted to be. And sure enough, since then, they've even done better. In fact, in May, they went, even despite the fact they lost the last two games, including yesterday's heart-crushing defeat, they still finished the month 21-9, which was the most wins in any month the Giants have had since 1968, which is pretty amazing. And if they had one more win, I believe it would have been as many wins as they've had since 1954. So remarkable month. They had actually snuck into first place, 2 days ago, by a half game after their fifth win in a row.
Touristing our way there for now.
What's that?
Just touristing our way there for now.
Yeah. They're just checking out first place to see how it feels. They might put it in offer later. They're going to go back and think about it. They're going to go sleep on it, see how it works out. But as we sit right now, the Giants are a half game back of the Dodgers, and in fact, I think the Dodgers won tonight, and the Giants are losing, so they might slip back to a game and a half. But they had a great month of May. They rocketed back up. Were at one point 30-20, playing 600 ball. They've had a couple of hiccups here the last 2 or 3 games, but overall, I think most Giants fans got to be very, very pleased at where things are now, especially considering where they were and where they started. What do you guys feel as far as the last 2 weeks and how things have gone?
Even on a rough game like this, there have been some high points. Like Panic is 2 for 3 right now. Make that 2 for 4. He's, there's always the spots where, like, you're not having the entire team just go completely belly flop all at once. But yeah, I don't know. It's you try really hard when you have a loss and then things get kind of rough to not be like, okay, 2 games in, I now need to freak out. Because, honestly, the team played like just devastatingly outstanding in May after a terrible April. And honestly, if there's anything that should kind of inspire us to some confidence, it's the fact that early in the year, we started with the slump. We hit a real bad slump, and then we recovered in spectacular fashion, which is, that's exactly what you want to have seen. And last year, it was April and May were outstanding, and then just massive slump by the time we hit June. So it's sort of like, well, we've hit our slump for the year, came back out of it, can probably stand parts of another one if we keep firing on cylinders like this. But we've gotten to already see what this team looks like when it's really firing, and it's a lot of fun when they're all going.
Yeah, they look like the best team in baseball when they're rolling on all cylinders. It's the type of lineup that you just like, wow, Angel Pagan is hitting 7th in this lineup when the guy started the season the 3rd. I mean, May was fantastic. It turned everything around, and it basically gave us all hope for this season instead of saying, oh, great, odd year and all that crap. It pushed it. That's my favorite thing about May, is it pushed the 2 words, odd year, the hell out of the conversation for now.
For now.
Because people are not focusing on that. Yeah, for now. For now. People are not
For now. I
focusing.
mean, we're fickle, we know we're fickle.
We're Giants fans. But I don't know what real team we're seeing yet. I'm really not sure if they're, this team or if they're that team. So I think we kind of got to see if they can get through June to show us if they've got anything. I mean, I understand going on runs, but if they go on a run at the wrong time in the bad way, the Dodgers are not a bad team, so it's going to hurt them. I mean, it's nice that it's pulled them up from being down at the bottom. I mean, they went from last place to first place through the month.
Yeah, no, they were in last place. And by the way, we're watching the Giants Pirates game, and the best thing just happened.
That's a great
jersey. Did you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure everyone knows about it now, but
really,
Buster Posey just hit a fly ball down the right field line as Polanco went for the ball, and he definitely had room to make the catch. Ironically, a Pirates fan wearing a Bonds jersey got in the way of Polanco, and he could not catch the ball.
Everything was awkward about that.
Everything was perfect about that, except perhaps the result, because they are going to a replay. So I don't know what they're going to – I mean, they can't call him – can they call him out?
They can if he touched it. I think if they feel that he impeded it, that they can call him out. But I don't think the fan touched it. I think he completely did. He
Polanco
it looked like he whiffed.
It went off his glove and then hit the.
No, I mean the fan.
In the
fan.
face.
If the fan had touched it, I would say yes.
Yeah.
That it would be overturned and they'd give him the out. But since the fan missed it, I'm going off. I mean, sort of knowledge of this situation. Hey, Alex Maffey's on the screen. The guy doing the MLB.TV is a friend of mine. The guy who does the replay stuff.
Oh, nice.
Oh, this is fantastic. I just love this. Oh, yeah, it definitely went off Polanco's glove, hit the guy in the face.
It went off
right.
Polanco's
So
glove.
I think they're just going to call it a foul ball.
Wow. Well, that is just great. I love it. So, yeah, the Giants have pulled within a run right now.
But it is, yeah.
It's 4-3. Of course, the Giants had bases loaded with nobody out 2 innings ago, and unfortunately could not score.
I was going to say, if that's a foul, essentially, Aoki would have had to tag up, right?
Well, Aoki scored.
Right.
Scored
but, of course, he couldn't score normally on a foul, but if you're tagged up.
Well, yeah, but he already scored
that one always throws me because it's so rare that you see it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He scored on the ground out.
Yeah, he's scoring on the ground. There's no one on base right now.
I thought I had seen them looking him back to third because I'm half watching the game and half looking at our notes. So that's my fault.
Pirates fan is being ejected.
And this, folks, is the kind of
he is now waving
kind of
goodbye.
Expert analysis that you can
get out of here.
Well, it's funny because we're watching a home game right now, trying to figure out if this team that we've seen over the last month is for real. And the thing that sticks out at me is all the runs they score on the road, and all the missed opportunities they have at home.
Well, missed opportunities, but what's certainly saving them is the fact that their pitching has been unbelievable. Okay. And I don't even have it in the notes here, but of course, the Giants in the month of May hit a robust 291. By the way, I mean that's insane. Yep. And of course. What they had 4 shutouts in a row, and we're up to at one point 39 consecutive scoreless innings at home. They had 7 shutouts in the month. I mean,
no, I think they had 8 or 9. They had 4 shutouts in a row twice.
Did they have it twice in May?
Yes. It started out with the Angels series.
They called him
and
out.
rolled into the Dodgers series, and the Angels. Oh, they did.
They called Buster Posey out on that. I did. Wow, I did not think that would happen.
Oh, okay, when he grabs his arm like that, that indicates that it is fan interference. I get that he's saying he impeded him, but I think since he didn't touch it, I mean, then again, who the F knows?
It's like you just go with the case could be made, quote unquote, and that's all you got.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Polanco running off the field like he made the greatest play ever. Yeah. You're right. They scored almost 5 runs a game last month, 4.9.
No, they were absolutely fantastic.
That's insane.
The pitching staff at a 3.52.
We haven't even talked about probably the cherry on top for the month was the shutout sweep of the Dodgers.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to sweep the Dodgers, but the fact that you hold them to 0 runs, you shut them out for an entire series. I mean, that's just like shut up, go away, don't bother us. I mean, it's just something extra sweet about that. And what are they, 7-2 against the Dodgers this year, I believe? And that's, think about it. I mean, if they were playing 500 or if they were slightly below 500, the Giants would be 5 or 6 games behind first place right now. So those wins are absolutely crucial to their performance and where they are in the standings right now. So hopefully they can kind of continue that pace. In fact, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say the other thing about like saying, they were one team in April and they were one team in May. April, they only had 22 games. May, they had 30 full games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There was an extra week of baseball for them to, I don't want to say build these stats, but at least, kind of give them a chance to show. Because the season started late, like the 5th or the 6th this year.
It did. Yeah. No, it started really late.
I was just noticing that. I was comparing. You know what I mean? I was comparing the 2 months, and I'm like, that's a big difference in games.
Yeah, it didn't start on the 30th of March this time. Yeah. I mean, this is starting to, at least so far, look like a season where 1 or 2 wins might end up making the difference. Of course, that's so far. There's plenty of time left for that to change dramatically. But for sure. But every win always counts. But every win feels like it counts so much more right now because of how close we're sort of trailing / leading / trailing / mostly trailing, but hopefully not for long, the Dodgers. So it's a little nerve-wracking. It's definitely a nerve-wracking time, but it's an optimistic nerve-wracking time to be a Giants fan, and that's not how all of our odd years have gone. So it's not a bad place to be in when you think about it.
No,
they're a good team. They really are.
In 2011, despite the fact that Buster Posey went down in May, they still finished with a above 500 record, and we're in it all the way up into the last couple of weeks of the season. So, I mean, hopefully it won't mirror 2011 in the fact that they're going to fade at the end, but hopefully they are going to be in it the entire season as opposed to 2013 when I think by July we all just kind of threw up the white flag and said, well, odd year, we're done.
Yeah.
It's too late. We're over.
Yeah, and even with the expanded playoffs, we all know that the standings and a playoff seeding can come down to just one game. Either a tie or you finish one game behind someone or what have you. And yesterday's game was one of those games where you just kind of look back and go, look, I don't think there's going to be a single team in all of Major League Baseball that's not going to blow at least one of those types of games throughout the year. You play 162, you're going to have a couple of heartbreakers. It's just inevitable. It's going to happen. And the Giants haven't had that yet this year. In fact, they were 25-0 when leading after 8 innings this season. And so, they blew it yesterday. It was their third blown save. But the other 2 previous blown saves, they actually won those games. So it didn't cost them a game in the standings. But yesterday, they did have that 5-3 lead going into the 9th. And, unfortunately, bad things happened. But, I think Twitter was a little unfair, which it usually is.
Which it pretty much always is.
Which it pretty much
about the only thing it knows how to do.
You just look at Twitter
yesterday
and go,
was the day of hot takes.
Yeah. What kind of horrible things can I read about Santiago Casilla? Oh, there you go. And there it is. And
all of them.
There it is.
All of them.
Yep. Oh, there's
Definitely
another one and another one and another one. So pretty vitriolic stuff. But at the same time, look, the Giants can't go through 162 games without blowing a game like that. It's going to happen.
It's why I'm generally glad I mostly just follow other people that either write about baseball or who follow the people that write about baseball, because most of them at least are going to look at that and go, well, I'm mad about that, but oh well. As opposed to looking and go, well, I'm mad about that, and I really hope things happen to your family. I'm like, you're not a good person, tweeter.
Right?
You're not a good person.
I even shared one of those guys yesterday. He was screaming. He tweeted horrible things at Craw and his wife, and I'm like, come on, get a grip, people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
no.
These guys have so many chips in the bank with us already that something like that, it's going to happen, And if Crawford had turned around and hit the home run to win it, then we all would have been like, oh, great job, Crawford. Totally washes away what happened, you know?
See, I mean, you bring up a great point there, because Crawford, which I want to talk about later as far as all-star game potential, I mean, he's been this is his best year by far so far for the Giants. And he's going to make errors throughout the year. Every shortstop does. He just happened to make an error at probably the most crucial time in the game, A lot of people won't look back.
Most inopportune time that you could possibly make an error.
Yeah, if he made an error in the 5th inning, let's say, that would have been a double play to end the 5th inning, and the Braves end up scoring 3 or 4 runs that inning. most people aren't going to put the blame on Crawford. It kind of gets buried a little bit because it's in the middle of the game. The fact that this was the ninth inning and that would have ended the game, and then it's just magnified like that. And Crawford stepped up, and in post-game interviews, he said, "I was trying to throw the ball before I had it. I rushed it." And he took ownage of it. No one's mad at him. It happens. But you're right. Some of the people come out on Twitter and expect these guys to be robots. I mean, if the guy blows 3 games in a row with errors, that's a different story. But a few games here and there, it's going to happen, and you just got to let these guys slide for a game or two. And
the other thing is as much as he says I was trying to throw it before I caught it, it's still a physical error. It's not a mental error. It's not like he ran at the wrong time to try to steal a base. It's not like he covered the wrong base or missed a cutoff man or something like that. Yeah. It's like you said, it's a physical error.
Or got picked off like one of the other people on the team.
Getting picked off, or
whose name is Brandon as well.
Up from second.
His name is also Brandon.
Yeah.
Might have been Hicks.
Might have been Hicks. Might have been someone else.
Might have been the yet unsigned Brandon Inge, but it's any minute now, I'm sure.
It's one of those Brandons.
Oh my God, we could have an infield of Brandons that way. Oh, forget it.
We had the potential for it the other year. I was just like, somebody just signed Brandon Inge just for the sake of that. Just all Brandons.
That's right. That would have been the one game that kept the Giants out of the playoffs last year, and we would have been crying about not.
Brandon at third, Brandon at short, Brandon at second, Brandon at first. And can we get a Brandon to catch? I don't know about that. That might be hard.
Nope.
That might be difficult.
I can't think of. I don't know there are any right now, but
I'm now dreaming of somebody named Brandon at the bat hitting into a triple play. Brandon to Brandon to Brandon.
Yeah. Buster's just a nickname, so he can adopt Brandon as his new nickname because he's still Gerald Dempster, right? Or Dempsey, whatever it is, Dempster.
Gerald Dempsey,
he's Ryan Dempster
Brandon
now.
Buster Posey.
Yeah,
right. He got Buster because Dad got Demp.
Yep.
So what's really cool, though, is that the Giants have been doing so well, and even though power rankings don't mean squat, it is something to take note when ESPN actually kind of eschews its East Coast bias and actually put Giants at number 2 in this morning's released power rankings. So that was kind of a surprise. Usually, you won't see those guys.
You had to play
top.
like we did in order to do it. That's the only thing. It's like the Giants played really, really well, like out of their minds in May, and that's when ESPN finally goes, "All right, you can be number 2."
Yeah,
but
all right, you can be number 2.
If that's what you have to do it, at least we get it.
Well, and before they lost,
not like the Giants are number 9.
Yeah, and before they lost that game against the Braves 8-0, they had won 13 out of 15. I mean, that's just stupid ball.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Which means they've still won 13 out of 17.
Right. And it's
True.
still video game baseball they're playing overall for the last few weeks.
13 out of 16. This game's not over yet. We just all feel very, not
No, 17 because they had two game losing streaks.
Yeah. Yeah, Rockies.
They lost 2 in Colorado, and then for some reason they can't play on Saturdays and Sundays because they lost to the Rockies in Game 2 that Saturday night, and then they lost that Sunday, and then same thing this past week, and they lost Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or against just Colorado as a whole. So.
Yeah. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked when I went to ESPN.com this morning. And with the way they have it all laid out now, the new page, which I'm not a fan of, but they've got that little box on the left side, with like your favorite teams. And I saw under the Giants, it said Giants up to number 2 in power rankings. I'm like, that can't be right.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Right.
I was absolutely shocked to see something like that. Yeah. Surprise. And I think they might have leapfrogged St. Louis had they won those 2 games. I think they would have been number 1.
Did they get drunk or something? What's going on?
Right?
They're in Connecticut or where the hell.
All right. Who they go out and give the controls to?
Ooh, Belt's getting hamstrung on these calls.
You guys realize, though, I mean, if this score stands up, which I hope it doesn't, but that's not the point. If this score stands up, this will be the most games that we've lost in a row since April 17th, which was our 8-game losing streak.
Oof.
That's pretty damn good.
That's not bad.
Yep, but we had 2 games. We lost 2 games May 6th and 7th, Padres and Marlins. We lost 2 games, 13th and 14th, Houston and Cincinnati, and then 2 games against the Rockies, 2 games against the Braves. So we haven't lost more than 2 games since April 16th. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about that too. The funny thing about that too is a lot of these, amazingly, and I mentioned it earlier, that they seem to have a home road split going on, where they're actually playing better ball on the road. I mean, that first losing streak, a lot of it was the beginning homestand. They got swept by the Rockies and things like that. And the other thing is about why I wonder about May that we were talking about. I'm probably regressing here a little bit because we're talking about number 2 in the power rankings. You have to wonder. if they were in, let's think about this, and I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. They played in Houston, then they played in Cincinnati, then they played in Colorado, then they played in Milwaukee. These are all hitter parks. These are all hitter parks, and they're going to Philly, and they're going to Philly this weekend. So they got this opportunity, and I think actually that's what impresses me is that they took advantage of the opportunity, and absolutely like laid the wood during May.
Yeah, and you were talking about that actually, Eric, last podcast. You were very excited about the Dodgers coming into town. You thought they were going to do well because they would rise to the challenge, and then you were very excited about going on the road to those good teams, and then to Milwaukee, and then eventually later, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, they just went on fire during the entire stretch.
I mean,
they won 8 in a row, lost 2, and then won another 5 in a row.
That sweep in Milwaukee, there was never a doubt. And I don't think any Giants fans mind that they were going to sweep that series. It was kind of like watching games going, ho-hum, okay, they're going to win this. I know that.
Yeah, no, I felt very good about those games, too. Never was stressed out. You're right.
Right.
You just kind of expected it.
It's nothing like this. The games we get stressed out, the games that are torture, seem to be at home.
Well,
and here's another one.
They're always close at home. Yeah. Almost every single one. You know, it's insane.
Yeah.
And
so
with the exception of the one where we blew up on Atlanta, they've all been within 4 runs just about.
Well, Crawford
and 4 is pushing a lot, but
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if there's even been that many. Crawford, he made a great comment after that 8-0 game. He said, the mark of a good team is, he's like, you're going to lose 1-run games. You're going to get blown out during the year. The mark of the good team is not getting blown out as much as losing the 1-run games. Right. And I think he was implying that, they're always in it and they always feel like they're in it. Yeah. That was the first time they got blown out. Yeah, this is the first time they got blown out in a long time.
No, it was.
Well,
I mean, one of those, you just chalk it up.
The Giants haven't,
right?
Yeah, that blowout win, yeah, and that was a surprise for sure. I mean, Lincecum had been pitching really well up until that point, and things just kind of fell apart for the Giants, and they just never really were able to recover per se.
Well,
that's one game though, and the next game they come back and it's one error that ends up costing them, and other than that, they play a pretty damn solid 5-3 game. That's exactly what you got to do.
Yeah, I figure, ESPN, they got them all the way up to number 2 in the power rankings. I think the wonder is if they keep winning, but other teams start winning, will they keep them up there? Because you even wrote it in here, what East Coast bias, because we know it's still there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Being facetious,
but we like to pretend. We like to pretend.
Well, just on the opposite, right?
Like
here they're 1 out away from losing 3 in a row. If they have a bad week, of course, they're going to slip from 2 to 7 or 8. That's going to happen.
Can we just take a second though to talk about our alien overlord and savior Hunter Pence?
There it is.
Because that was the turnaround point. It felt like things were not going great, but they went okay. They were going okay, and then Pence comes back, and all of a sudden it's like offensive explosion, and it's been spectacular. I missed watching that guy. I like Justin Maxwell. I actually liked Justin Maxwell even when he was when he was back with the Astros. I just remember being like, this kid will, he hustles, he works hard. But man, Pence is just fun to watch for no good reason whatsoever.
Yeah, he's fun.
All of the good reasons. He's just hilarious.
When you're at the game, he's fun to just watch. In right field, you know what I mean? You could sit there and watch him for you can watch him for like a whole inning, and he'll move and tweak, and the whole team seems to feed off of him. It was like I'm sure I tweeted it at that time. Buster Posey is the heart of this team, but Hunter Pence is the soul. And it felt like the team got their soul back when he came back. And it seemed like they knew he was coming back too, and they started playing good like 2-3 games right before he came back as well.
Yeah, it's like they were kind of like he's coming back soon. We were getting hyped up because he's going to be on the field soon. Pence was there with them at that point. Mm-hmm. He was with the team. He didn't go rehab for that long. He came back pretty quickly and was with the team for a couple of days and texted Boch. Or no, actually no, he was with Sacramento. Actually, I'm sorry. He was with Sacramento, and then he texted Bochy just like, I am a weapon. I am an offensive weapon waiting to be something along those lines. It's just like, all right, that sounds like not only the kind of thing Pence would say, but the kind of thing this team needs. So do it. Let's bring him back. Let's go. and that worked out. When Pence came back, just that spark plug really just went off.
Yeah. No, now they do have a 3-game losing streak with Pence, but I think part of that is also Pence has kind of cooled off significantly. Posey's been kind of cold.
Yeah,
this
but
past week as well.
that was the start of the day before he came back was the start of that 8-game winning streak, and I mean, it's hard not to like look at that and go, well, this may not be the point where it turned around, but damned if it doesn't make it look like it.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I think they won the night before he came back that Friday in Cincinnati, and then he came back on Saturday, and they won 7 in a row with him in the lineup. So
Right.
definitely
Dropped 2 to the Rockies and then won 5 in a row after that.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely looked pretty damn good with him.
Hunter Pence, here he am, destroyer of worlds. It's it's pretty great.
Well,
Chad, you had the stat, right, with how he is with, how the Giants are with and without. Where'd it go? There we are.
yeah. So, they just dropped tonight's game, unfortunately. So they are now 12-5 with Pence and 18-18 without him. But think about that; they were 12-2 before this 3-game losing streak. So it just shows you the kind of the spark plug he has been. And he's even though he's been in the lineup
Wins
last 3
above
games, he's been
replacement.
cold. Yeah. So
Yeah, he has.
that's kind of part of the equation. But hey, we all have our ups and downs. Speaking about ups and downs, I mean, Brandon Crawford, even though he did boot the ball yesterday, which did cost him the game, he's just been having a spectacular year. He did go 0 for 4 today, but coming into
Offensively, he's been outstanding.
yeah, well, I mean, how many times have we talked about this guy saying if he hits 230, 240, but plays wizard-like defense, we're happy.
Right.
And here he is coming into tonight's game, hitting 299 with 7 jacks and leading the team with 34 ribbies. His defensive
34.
WAR his total WAR overall is, I don't have the number right here, but it's 9th best out of position players in MLB and 5th in the NL. That's just incredible. And I know that a lot of the Giants are going to perhaps maybe not do so well in the All-Star game balloting, but of course we do have our manager is going to be the manager of the National League. So I'm sure he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be considered or at least subbed in for a injury replacement, at the end, God forbid, if he's not voted in. But man, this guy, as of right now, absolutely deserves to be in the All-Star game. There's not many other shortstops that are performing better than him offensively and defensively as a combination. And it's been just such a great surprise. If this guy can hold a 270 average for the year and he's on pace for 15, 16 jacks, which I'm not saying he's going to get to, but he hit 10 last year.
Yeah, but
right?
this is what we do every year. We say, if he can just, well, it's almost like there's no reason to think that he won't just kind of like, I'm just going to spite those torture cast guys and keep just trying to just do a little better all the time.
He could just hit 300. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is,
just hit over 300.
he seems so smart. Like, he has, over the last few years, Crawford seems to have taken to improving a certain part of his game each offseason. Last year, it was him coming out of the gates hitting the left-handed pitching, which he's doing again like crazy this season.
Agreed.
And it almost makes it look like maybe he worked on contact in this offseason, because it seems like – and this is what you want to see out of a young ball player that comes up through your system and gets thrown out there when he's kind of young. He's improving every single year, little by little, in certain aspects of the game. So much so that 5-10 years from now, he's going to be the guy passing on the stuff to whoever's coming in next. I think it's really impressive. It's a testament.
I should point out that Brandon Crawford is actually leading the team in Baseball Reference WAR. Just like 2.7, like a half a win higher than Buster Posey, who is the next highest on the list. Like, he has been outstanding both offensively and defensively for this team. And that's one of those things like you look at and you say, is he finally hitting well enough to get a Gold Glove this year? Because I mean, he's still playing well enough for in the field, but he's almost hitting 300 right now, and this is a whole different Crawford, and it dovetails neatly with the rest of the team, though. When Crawford is on towards the bottom of the lineup or at the middle of the lineup, you just start stringing things together. But in the past, Crawford has had some spots where he's not necessarily, and Crawford's kind of been constantly on for the last 3 weeks. And you can see that it really, like, keeping the bottom of the order moving really keeps the team running.
Well, it's funny because Bochy's jumped him up to the 6th slot again. I get worried when Crawford gets bumped up in the order. I mean, it worked out on Sunday with the back-to-back jacks, but I get worried when Crawford gets moved up in the order that he puts too much pressure on himself and thinks that he needs to come in and be the big man and drive in all
Magical
the runs.
RBI guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So
on the other hand, though, when the team's working, he's got people behind him that can do it, and that's the case at the moment. At least, is the people behind him in the lineup can pick him up, and that hasn't always been the case in our off years. So, but I get what you mean. Every time we move Crawford up in the order anywhere other than second, it's like because for some reason he just does not seem to thrive in that spot of the order, or has not historically. Of course, he also hasn't historically hit 299, so I kind of can't say anything.
It just isn't. Yeah, it's historic in its own right. So.
All right, well, it's funny. You bring up Crawford as an all-star possibility. What about Joe Panic?
Yeah, I mean,
good.
That's a good point. I think he definitely merits
the competition,
consideration.
I think, is different at the second.
Yeah, but I think the competition's a little bit stiffer.
Yeah.
At second base?
At second base. I don't know by how much.
I see Bochy bringing him along. I don't see him getting voted in. That's kind of my thought on this. Do you still have that list of the Giants' WAR in front of you?
Yeah.
I don't, but maybe Ben does.
I can pull it up in a second. But the thing about the players have some say in some of those as well, though. So, I mean, it's not necessarily just – Bochy gets a couple of reserve picks, injury picks, and so on. And I think Crawford is – like he's said publicly before that Crawford is playing well enough for it this year. So I think it's not out of the question, but it just depends on the situation. Panic is currently at a 1.5, which is good for 1.5 runs or 1.5 wins above replacement. Ahead of him currently are Belt, Posey, and Crawford. 2.2, and 2.7.
Okay. That's another name right there, Brandon Belt. I know he struggled for a little bit and was out, but that guy's been on a tear. He's almost all-star worthy at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's certainly like he's at a tougher position because first base tends to be where you slot the guys that have the outstanding numbers. Except that Belt can play defense, where some of them can't, but that won't always get you all-star attention. I mean, Belt, on the other hand, has 7 home runs, 22 RBI. He's gotten walked 18 times, and that's only 2 behind Panic and 3 behind Posey. So, I mean, his eye has been really good this year.
Right.
3 behind Aoki as well. I should point that out.
Yeah, he's flashed in my head.
He's struck out more than anybody else on the team, sure, but Crawford is only about 9 strikeouts behind him, and we've been touting Crawford. Belt's batting 306. And his OPS is 927. I mean, his OPS leads the team, even with the strikeouts and everything else. Yeah, I mean, if this is the breakout year for Belt, which maybe it'd be nice, but I still don't know if I feel like this is what Belt's capable of. But it's very rewarding watching him hit over 300. I'm not gonna lie.
No, especially after a slow start. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 7 bombs in the last 17 games. He had another 2 RBI tonight. He struck out in a crucial situation, but again, it's going to happen. So overall, he's been pretty good. I'm not sure about all-star worthy quite yet. I think he has to put, together a little bit more of a streak because of his long absence to begin with. Because his RBI.
Yeah, I think he has to.
That's fair.
Low. He has to catch attention, I think, is what it is. And going off is often how you get your name in. If you're like go on one of those tears like Harper, where you're just, or like Chris Bryant, where you're just hitting a ton of home runs after the other, or where you're like, you start developing a hitting streak or something, your name starts getting in the conversation. And the problem is that Belt's been consistent to the point of not having any like major hot streaks and just being a 300 hitter. And it's weird to say that, like, oh, he's not doing anything special. He's just hitting 300. Like, no, that's kind of what it is in a way, because he hasn't made any major splashes to the point where people are like, Brandon Belt, big in the national conversation right now. He's hitting 306.
Yeah.
Or, well, he entered tonight at 306.
Yeah, and he had it tonight, so it didn't go down by too much. If he was 1 for 3, 1 for 4, should say.
As opposed to Norioki ended tonight 309, only person hitting better than Belt. This is a lot of guys hitting 300 on this team.
Yeah, they got 4. They had 4 guys going into the game tonight.
Yeah.
Going in tonight. 4 tonight, and plus Brandon Crawford at 299, which we can pretend to round up. I mean,
well, it's going to go down with an offer.
That is a lot in one lineup. True.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
In fairness, the Braves entered and came to AT&T Park with a lineup looking roughly like that, and their first 2 games, they just did not look like they could figure out what to do. So,
nope. So I think it
all depends.
Giants sometimes look like that too.
Yep.
I think it was last night I was tweeting from the account, and I've been a little surprised from the moves lately, and I tweeted out, all the Giants belong to us. Because apparently no one wants the Giants that we DFA. for various reasons, but it's been pretty cool to see all of these guys getting DFA'd for various reasons. Not because they're bad baseball players. It's just circumstances.
Roster room.
We haven't had a chance to talk about McGee, but clearly he's been struggling, and the Giants just needed to make the room for the roster moves. And he was DFA'd, and it was really cool. He did pull Duffy aside in the clubhouse to kick the shit out of him, but no, he just pulled him aside and said, "Hey, man, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad for playing well. Don't feel bad for taking this opportunity." He had a similar thing that happened to him in Milwaukee when he was a young guy coming up, and he took someone's spot, at third base. It's just kind of the nature of baseball. And it doesn't mean that McGee is out of the game, but he was DFA'd. But because of his salary is what, five or 4 or 5 million this year, 4.5, I think. Most people thought that he would probably clear waivers, but it actually ended up being a little bit more complex than that because he did have technically one option left on his contract. So he was technically optioned to Sacramento, but he's not on the 40-man roster. So it's a little confusing there, but he accepted the assignment. We had Travis Ishikawa coming off of his rehab stint in the minor leagues. He was DFA'd as well, which was, again, another tough pill for, I think, Giants management to swallow, considering all the, the image that Ishikawa has now as a cult hero in Giants lore. But again, he cleared waivers, and now he's been assigned to Sacramento.
And I think that being assigned to Sacramento means that he will. I believe that means he'll get the remainder of his 1.1 million. I want to say, as opposed to if he had opted for free agency. Correct. So that's nice too. It's a nice perk for him going back, playing with Sacramento, having every chance of being called back up to the big team if something happens. Yep. Preferably not. I'd really like Belt to actually stay healthy this whole year.
Well, right. You don't want to see it happen.
Healthy enough.
Yeah.
But should something happen, Travis Ishikawa is right there and is probably, at the moment, Ishikawa has to be easily the first choice for, on the depth chart for first base. Mm-hmm. It's basically Buster Posey's off day, followed by Travis Ishikawa.
Absolutely. So, and then Eric Cordier, which we talked about last podcast, was DFA'd as well. And he's a flamethrower with some control issues, but he's definitely got potential, and he cleared waivers. And now he's also back with Sacramento. And then on top of that, Kevin Franson was released, I guess, last week, and the Giants signed him to a minor league contract. So now he's at AAA Sacramento. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of
with
former Giants. I mean, of course, like former major leaguers that we've seen on the 25-man roster now playing in Sacramento, including Juan Perez and all these other guys.
A lot of familiar names.
Yeah, a lot. You look at that AAA really roster. Good. I was looking at it tonight, and like half of them, you're like, holy crap! All these guys have been on the Giants like for extended periods of time at one point in their career.
You could make a just below 500 team out of our AAA roster almost at this point.
No, it's
that's what I was going to say. They're like a 4A
maybe not
ball
the rotation,
club,
but it's and what's nice is that gives us a ton of depth, which is something that we haven't always had at a major league ready level. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. And I mean, they're not. None of them are really upgrades. That's why they're there, essentially. Sad to say, but at any point, if you said, now that he's starting to heat up, we can go ahead and slot McGee back in as a emergency over here and there, like corner infielder or something like that. Somebody gets hurt and you call up Casey McGee. You go, we're not going to lose nearly as much as we would have if somebody got hurt. We had to call up like Mac Williamson out of AA. I mean, well, I guess I don't know that. Mac Williamson is pretty good, but it's nice just knowing that there is there is a break glass in case of something happening in the organization now, and that's not always what it's felt like in previous years. In previous years, sometimes you look down and you go, something happens to this position, and I'm just going to cry for a week.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's not really the case.
To look at their roster right now, I'm just going to kind of go through here and just the names that kind of pop out to me. We got Blackburn, Cordier, Juan Gutierrez, Jake Peavy, of course, on rehab assignment, Guillermo Quiroz, Hector Sanchez, John Bowker. There you go. Blast from the past.
Wow.
Here's your corner outfield depth.
Yeah, Kevin Franson, Brandon Hicks, Travis Ishikawa, Casey McGee, Darren Ford, Juan Perez. I mean, think about that. I mean, you could put together pretty much an entire 9-man roster right there, a 9-man lineup. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they got some depth. Or either other
fun.
teams just.
And I mean,
They don't want the Giants.
And a lot of these
Astros.
guys didn't necessarily. They weren't necessarily like useless to other teams, but at this stage in the year, you don't necessarily just grab somebody on a waiver because you're still gauging where you're at, and you try to get somebody on a waiver at the wrong time. You have to make a trade for him. You're not always prepared to do that.
You have to have
especially
room for
with
him.
some of these
Exactly.
guys, some of the pieces here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's nice to have, and guys like Kevin Franzen back. It doesn't hurt. I mean, you have something happen to, there's always use for a utility infielder, and the only one we have now is Joaquin Arias, really. So,
Really?
Well, somebody's going to need to come up. They were
Really?
they were taught, yeah, right. But they're not getting rid of him. Somebody's going to have to come up, possibly Thursday, because apparently the Giants coaches, Bags tweeted it earlier. Apparently the Giants coaches are discussing getting rid of an arm in the bullpen for the upcoming road trip.
Yes, that is correct. Because one of the reasons they had to make room with Travis Ishikawa was the fact that they called up Hunter Strickland for 13 pitchers because they had the doubleheader in Colorado. They had a couple of blow-up games. They've had just a lot of pressure and work on their bullpen, and so they knew they needed 13 pitchers up until, like you said, they have a break and then the next road trip or homestand in which they have a few off days kind of intermixed within, which they feel like they might be able to dial back to 12-man
Right.
as far as the pitching goes. So
well,
it'll be interesting to see what
I'll
happens
go ahead and
there.
I'll throw a couple of names out at you here, and I want to just get your take on how you feel about if I list off this set of names: Adam Duvall, Jarrett Parker, Juan Perez, Hector Sanchez, Daniel Carbonell. Those are the remaining position players that we have on the 40-man right now.
Okay.
Now, we have some holes on the 40-man because of DFA'ing McGee, assuming that goes through, since McGee is currently on the 40-man. That does open up a spot to call up any number of, McGee, Ishikawa, Franzen, Jarrett, what have you. But that's what we've already – that's the we have some playroom on the 40-man right now. It's an interesting list. I don't know that any of those names jumps out at me right now as, yep, that's the one. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I can't.
Juan Perez is not the bench answer.
No, I think McGee's coming back on Thursday.
You think Thursday, huh?
I think
Yeah, I really do. I think that he's going to be the guy they call up. I think Machi's going to go, and I think McGee's going to stay.
Yeah, I could see Machi going.
I definitely could see that. I could see that for sure. Machi really has been the It does not take much to be a weak link in this bullpen. I think that's something that we don't necessarily talk about enough. The fact that we have a bullpen we can call the core for because of the continuity and the consistency that they pitch with. But yeah, Machi really Machi was really solid for us last year.
Yeah, but it was early too. Even then, he didn't last through the whole year. He turned into towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I would say so. So I mean, Machi out seems like the obvious choice. I agree. Strickland actually has done pretty damn well since coming back up, and I think that's going to be good for him too to stick around and get a chance to remind the fans that he's actually got some ability.
Well, he does. The guy. It's funny.
Absolutely.
I just typed it in for later, but I'll use it now. Strickland, 7 1/3 innings this year, no runs, 8 strikeouts, no walks, and only 1 hit.
Yeah.
He's inherited 2 runners, and neither of them have scored.
Yeah. Well, and I heard Kruko talking about him about a week ago, and a lot of people have been saying he's pretty nasty, and according to Kruko, and I don't know if this is true or not, when he came up last year, here's this young stud he's a little cocky, a little hot-headed. He's been blown away most batters in most of his life. So he comes up to the big leagues, and the first go around he was doing pretty well, but then near the end of the year he started getting torched, and of course they kept him on the postseason roster, and he got torched again almost every time. And the fact of the matter is, he thought his 4-seamer was good enough. Hit my 97-mile-an-hour 4-seamer, and most batters are like, well, thank you very much. I'll take that out of the yard. I guess over the season he was working on a cutter, a 2-seamer, and it's not perfected, but it's apparently it's worked wonders for him. So he's been working on that in the beginning of the season down there in AAA, and now he's been using that up in the pros. I have not seen it personally. I haven't seen him enough to gauge anything. Going, oh yeah, it is 2-seamer cutting in on right-handers, blah, blah, blah. It's definitely...
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what Kruko's saying right now, so I buy it. I do trust Kruko as an analyst because he was a pitcher, and even though he's a homer, I do think that he tries to speak the truth when it comes to these kinds of things. And so if that is the case...
He's a very even-handed homer. There's only so many of those out there.
Yeah, there's only so many of those. But if he does have his cutter working, and it is at least throwing some guys off some of the time, so they're not going to just be taking him out of the park, he does have the core raw stuff to kind of inherit that closer role, which we've all been talking about. In fact, I want to transition into, and we'll come back to one of the things you want to talk about, Eric, but I just want to talk about it, not that I feel this way, but because it was pretty active on Twitter and on KMBR's show yesterday with Marty Lurie. A lot of people were calling in, playing armchair quarterback or armchair manager, as we like to call this segment. And they were saying, what the hell, man? Strickland had a perfect eighth. Why didn't Bochy just stick with the hot hand? Why doesn't he just stick with the hot hand? Why does he have to put in the closer? Why is it so formulaic? And yeah, so you're going, and that's to be honest, that's my reaction as well.
As you do, like reactionary Twitter posts always inspire me to go.
Right, and so I know you two.
I have a different take on it all, but
don't feel necessarily that he should have stuck with Strickland.
No,
because
would you like me to pretend to go with it just so we have something to debate about?
Yeah, can you say, I think he should have put in Brandon Belt as a left-handed reliever.
Okay, so right, exactly. So the answer is we need to try and trade for Ike Davis, who's excellent on the mound, as it turns out. There is something to be said for the sticking with the hot hand, of course, and for the sake of having somebody say it, because none of us agree with this apparently, is Strickland was pitching well, and Strickland, unlike say most of the rest of the bullpen, is relatively fresh. Contos has gotten so much work over the last several weeks, and the core four have all rotated out pretty steadily. Because a lot of our, we've finally had pitchers start going into sixes and sevenths and eighths, but it's still not every time. Especially you've got guys like Timmy. Both Timmys will sort of oscillate whether they're on or off, and so you'll end up with a lot of longer stretches. We've used these guys a lot. Strickland probably got used some when he was in AAA, but on the other hand, he hasn't been used in as many major league games. We've been using him more consistently lately, but there is something to be said for having the guy who's fresh and pitching well, putting him on a short leash, sticking somebody in the bullpen and saying, start the ninth and see what you got. There's something to be said for that. I don't know that I totally agree with it enough to say this is what I would have done in that situation. Yeah. But I see where they're coming from. Okay, have at it. You guys may now tear it apart.
Well, the funny thing is if it plays out any other way, nobody's being the armchair manager at this point.
No,
you know what I mean?
I agree.
And I read it today, and I believe it was Bags once again who it might have been Hank, but I think it was Bags who pointed out that Romo was sick yesterday.
Yep.
And he was not available. And so, in essence, that could be an argument. Oh my God, I'm making the case. That's an argument for why Strickland actually could have stayed in the game. Oh my God, I just made the case. But
you found it.
I did, but
no one on Twitter quoted it though, so it's cool.
The funny thing is Bochy was comfortable enough, though, going into the ninth with Casilla and Lopez, that he didn't think that he was going to need the spillover, because you mentioned it earlier, Chad. They were 25-0 when leading after 8 innings. Yeah. It wasn't like this was some tie game. It wasn't like this was they were down 1 and then suddenly they were down 5. They had the lead and he put his closer in. That forget correct strategy or whatnot. Bochy feels like he's the best man to close out the game, so he put him in at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
you go to your ninth and you put in who you think is your best pitcher, and right now he thinks that's Santiago Casilla.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he talked about it. The inning would have gone differently if Romo was healthy, because then Casilla would not have been stuck facing, what was it, Peterson? Is that guy's name?
Peterson,
yeah.
Jace Peterson, because you can go right, left, right.
Exactly, and he couldn't do that because he had Lopez, and he was trying to hold on to Lopez for emergency only if he needed him, and we all saw he ended up having to bring him in. But he couldn't go Casilla, Lopez, Romo like he thought about doing if this scenario unfolded, and which is why Santiago was out there to give up, the double after the Crawford flub.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, I shouldn't say a tough call. I mean, I would have gone with Casilla as well, but I think Romo being sick made it a tough call, because there's two elements to this. Is Strickland, of course. No, I would never have continued with him in the ninth. The guy is still essentially a rookie. He had 7 innings in the major so far. Everyone's like, oh, look at him. He's 1 hit in 7 innings. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But what if you put him in and he gets torched for 3 runs and everybody's going, why the hell did you put in the rookie over Casilla? Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
But this guy got a save in the 18th inning of a game back against Washington last year.
Yeah, I mean, Casilla has proven that he's a great closer for the Giants. He's not, Mariano Rivera, but he's a very, very good closer right now.
Casilla gets blown up all the time, or he used to.
Yeah, the guy's got the fourth best ERA in the National League in the last 5 years, but he
Casilla blew another one. I'm like, what are you talking? You guys are imagining some.
You mean another one? He hasn't blown one up in like a year and a half.
Yeah,
not
some figment of their
Twitter. I love you to death. I love you to death, Twitter. But when the Santiago Casilla vitriol starts, I just kind of let it go past.
Well, and they start talking about trading for a closer. That was a big topic on Marty's show yesterday, and I was laughing hysterically. I'm like, how is this even a topic? They're like, yeah, we should definitely give up a couple of prospects for Aroldis Chapman because Cincinnati's going to have that fire sale. And I'm going, wait, what? The closer's not our.
Now look, if
closer's none of our concern
Cincinnati
right
is seriously just going to, if Cincinnati is just going to start handing people out,
we'll take Cueto, thank you.
Okay,
right.
Assuming he's healthy, of course.
Right.
But
hell,
yeah,
I would take Votto.
Yep,
Votto, yeah,
just because you can, but only if they're giving away for cheap.
Yeah, closer's not an issue right now.
He's not the Joey Votto he used to be.
It just pisses me. Well, he walked with 3 balls yesterday. He's so good. He walked on 3 balls.
Yeah,
yesterday.
that was hilarious. How does nobody catch that?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Outstanding.
But the bullpen as a whole,
little Jedi mind.
Yeah. All right, I'll go. Yeah, the bullpen as a whole has been nails, and Casilla has pretty much been nails himself. I was going to ask you guys. You guys are out there. I don't tune into Marty as often. Sometimes I'll pop the KNBR app open after a game. Sometimes I don't. But do Giants fans react on the radio to every game like it's a football game?
Oh, yeah. Well, put it this way. The call screeners selectively pick the ones who feel that way, I should say.
Fair enough.
You rarely get the...
I think people probably push it a little extra for that, too.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Maury Povich show, you know what I mean? It's like not only people are calling with crazy ideas, but the screeners are always choosing the more provocative kind of far left, far right kind of opinions. Very rarely, 1 out of 10 callers, you have a very civil, objective kind of conversation between a caller and Marty Lurie where they're like, oh yes, oh good point, oh yes, and da 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 da. It's very much, we should definitely get rid of Casilla. We need a trade for Chapman, and who is this guy? And it's that kind of stuff, which it's very frustrating as a listener because I really like Marty Lurie. I do. I think he brings kind of a level-headedness to everything, and he kind of calms everyone down. But at the same time, I'm getting sick of the idiots that they put on over the air because some of these people are so myopic in their view of what's going on in the world of Giants baseball. It just ticks me off because he had blown, 3 out of 5 games.
Remember, that's how you make sure that Marty looks good is you have Marty tell these people that they're wrong.
Yes. And that's a good point is that, you bring up the dredges of Giants fandom on the radio. It's very easy for an intellectual super being comparatively that Marty is to these guys. And yeah, he just shuts them down in a very nice way, but you're right. It's easy work for him. He generally does not have to go toe to toe with these guys. He's very much
fair enough.
Doesn't talk down to them. He just kind of talks to them as almost like they're children. Well, that's a very good point. I understand what you're saying, but let's look at it another way, and he'll kind of pander to them in that fashion. But yeah, and you're right because with Romo,
I see what you're talking about. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. With Romo being sick, a lot of people were crying.
You don't really think that we should trade the entire farm for Ricky Weeks?
A lot of people were crying about Bochy not bringing in Lopez against Peterson. But again, they had another right-hander on the bench, and that was bases loaded with 1 out. Mm-hmm. And so most certainly, if he had made the call to Lopez, they would have called for the righty. Now, here's the thing. It's like Casilla pitches to lefties almost as well as righties. Lopez pitches excellently to lefties and gets hammered by righties. So why would Bochy make that move? And this is the kind of thing I don't think fans kind of think about too much, is that, bring in the lefty against the lefty. Well, no, it wouldn't have been that matchup. You would have just burned Lopez for no one. The righty would have come in.
But it's easy to look at it and say, well, in hindsight, then this person should have faced that person. It's like, yeah, but in hindsight, when you bring in that person, then everything else changes. It's really hard not to look back at it and say, well, at this one point in the game, if you had changed this one thing, and forget that there's a butterfly effect that happens throughout these games. It's not just a terrible movie featuring Ashton Kutcher. It's also really what would happen if you make one change to a game. The game does not play out the same way. And people forget that really easily. If only McCovey had God, that doesn't
The line drive, yes, I know.
That's
I
at
know.
the
Thank you,
it's at
Charlie.
the end of the game, and
Well,
I know.
yeah, no one would be talking about.
Need higher.
The only problem I had with Casilla yesterday, he gave up the home run, the leadoff home run, which is
Walk.
fine because he's challenging him, right? He's got a
Right.
2-run lead. He's going to
It
challenge
was
him.
low.
He doesn't want to put him
It
on
was
base.
low in the zone too, and it's Freddie Freeman. You got to tip your hat sometimes.
Yeah, and he's been murdering, Casilla lately because he hit another one the
yeah.
other night off of him.
Yeah, it was Friday night or something. Yeah.
But the problem I had was the pitch after that, or the batter after that. He walks the guy,
Yes.
and that was. I think I don't even care about the triple. I really don't. I mean, the guy hit it. Whatever. It's
Right.
a physical mistake. It's the mental mistake. Mostly, I would say.
Oh, it's
The
a
next-
mental mistake.
Yeah, the next guy comes up and you walk him. You put the tying run on base with one out, and then that set up the play where it's a ground ball to Crawford, and he was thinking a little too fast and whatever. So that's really more the problem I had with him. Of course, like you said, if Crawford makes that play, which he does 99.5% of the time, the game's over, and no one's even talking about Casilla. No one's even talking about it. They're like, oh, yeah, he gave up a home run, but they won. Whatever, it's all good. You got the save. So it's...
Yep. Only matters if you don't win.
Yeah, so
The reason.
that walk really ticked me off.
Yeah, that to me, the reason I say that's a mental error is because it was Andrelton Simmons. This guy is not going to beat you with a long ball to tie the game. He's just not going to do it. So throw the ball over the effing plate and let him hit himself out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's fast. Okay.
Right.
He can, decent on the base paths. You don't really want him to get on base if you can, but what's the worst case scenario? Like, you're giving him a free base is guaranteeing you now have to deal with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 7 out of 10 times, 7.5 out of 10 times, he's going to get himself out anyways. So might as well roll with
Yep.
it. That's why it was totally mental on Casilla. I mean, somebody, you think about how many times somebody rolls over a ball, pops one out, just misses it, game of inches, blah blah blah. He should have just attacked him instead of trying to nibble around. I think Casilla was a little shaken, but I don't think that's the reason they lost.
No, I don't think so.
No, but it's they're all of these are contributing factors, and that's
Yes,
how it always is.
exactly.
And yeah, if you do look back at any one thing, you're looking at stuff towards the end of the game that would have made the game play out about the same way, and that's one right there. It changes the nature of the next at bat when suddenly now the tying run is on base.
Right.
So Eric, you wanted to possibly change the lineup.
Well, I mean, do you want to get it? Yeah, I've been noticing, and I don't have any raw numbers to back this up. It's just something I've been noticing from watching the games. You mentioned it earlier. Pence has been struggling, and he's been in the third spot, and he's been struggling ever since he's been in the third spot. Mm-hmm. When he came back to the lineup, Bochy batted him sixth, and then he bumped him up to fifth, and then he threw him in the 3 slot and moved Pagan down to the 7 hole. And I'm not so sure that the third spot is the best place for Pence. I've made the case on this show before that I think your best hitter should hit third, so I really do think Buster should be there. But I don't see Pence as a natural 3 hitter. I don't see him making enough contact at times to do the things they need to do. He's just doesn't seem as comfortable in the 3 spot. And Pence is a guy that's going to say, oh, I can hit anywhere. Oh, I'm going to do this. It's no problem. I can do anything, coach. Yeah. Like you said, I'm a weapon right now. Put me in. But it's
Right.
almost like since he's been batting third, he's got protection behind him now, and he's not taking advantage of it all. I don't know if it's a mental thing with him. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, batting third and Hunter Pence are not agreeing with each other right now. So I propose he should be hitting 5th or 6th, depending on how you move the lineup around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think on
I
paper,
would take.
On paper, I really don't have a problem with Pence hitting third. I mean, he definitely has been cold since he moved up that spot. I kind of want to see how this plays out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think just with his raw power and speed, I think third is kind of suited perfectly for him. I do agree that third is kind of where you want your best hitter, and I do agree that Buster could be there, but because of his lack of speed, I don't mind him being the 4 hitter. But yeah, if it's a comfort thing,
You look at them right now, though.
knows?
You look at them right now, and it feels like it really, assuming that you leave Aoki at leadoff, which for the most part I'm still okay with. I mean, he's had one of the best eyes for the ball, discipline-wise, on the team. But you go Aoki and Panic, obviously, and then after that, I kind of lean Posey, Belt, Pence, to be honest.
Yes, that's where I lean.
Yeah, because Belt's got the best raw power on the team, and he's got enough discipline to nudge guys over if he draws a walk. I mean, he's not just going to come up there and swing for the fences, but that is a lot of his game, and when it works, he can move guys over in a hurry, and he's been doing that. It's just that he's been doing it a bit lower in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really liked having Pence at third personally. I definitely get what you mean as far as feeling like he profiles well there. He's too much of a free swinger for me to put third, and when he does run into one, he can run into one pretty hard. But he's not a third or a fourth guy for me. He's a fifth guy for me. That's about
plus
where
you mix up the righty lefty if you mix it up like you proposed.
There is that. That doesn't hurt having Panic and Belton there in where they are. It's a little bonus having to change the angle, but just the way that Pence plays, he belongs in the top half of the lineup, but he belongs at fifth for me. That's how I've seen him. When he's really on, fourth, but when Belt's on, fifth.
I agree with that. The problem is Crawford's nudging them right now from the bottom, but
he is. That's a good problem to have, man.
Yes, it is. I don't know. There's just something about comfort. I brought up the same thing with Brandon Crawford, where I don't feel like he's as comfortable hitting out of when he's not hitting in the 8th or the 7th slot. And I think there's something mentally I mentioned earlier that he might press. I think Hunter might be trying to press as much too. I think he's trying too hard to get things going at times. So like Chad, you said, you'd like to see this play out. And I would too, because I'd like to see it turn positive because he does, slot in well there. But I just think comfort factor, and we know comfort factor is a big thing with Pence. Look at his freaking pants. So he's going to.
Funny because it's true.
Exactly.
Also.
So he's gonna lean towards what he's most comfortable doing. So I'm with you, Chad. I like not Chad, Ben. I like that lineup.
Yeah. No, that was good. All right, so we're getting here to the end of our podcast, but coming up here, we have another 2 games against the Pirates at home, and then we're going to be on the road to Philadelphia. Well, hopefully they can feast on the Phillies, but of course the Phillies have been playing actually much better lately, so they're not bottom feeders at this point right now.
Guess who's pitching Friday for the Phillies?
Oh, this should be good. Who?
Jerome Williams.
Oh, really? Holy moly.
Oh, wow.
Tim Lincecum against Jerome Williams on Friday.
Oh, my God. Okay, I like that matchup. I like it.
Former new generation versus older new generation. No,
Okay.
Wait, that's not. I'm so confused. I don't know how to label this.
Yeah, I had to bring it up. You guys think he still has that necklace?
I don't know. I haven't physically seen him pitch in years, so that's a good question.
Right? I had to go check his baseball reference page to make sure it was him.
Yeah, I knew he was
attention,
back, but holy crap, that's amazing. No, I did not know that. All right, Jerome Williams on Friday.
I had to throw that out there. Any long time.
I'm just looking forward to hearing Kruk and Kipe chatter about that. That should be good.
Oh my God, that's going to be fun. And then Ben, I saw you just added here. You're going on vacation again. Where the hell are you? What exotic locale are you going to next time?
That is correct. The wild wilderness of New York. I'm going back for the Giants series out there, but for part of it.
And you did that last year as well,
If we've
right?
still got any listeners in New York, not last year, 2 years the year before.
2 years ago, that's right.
Yeah. So
and you went to
we've got
and everything, right?
Yep, did that. Planning on doing it again. I'm either gonna watch I don't know if I'm gonna try and race across the river to go and see the Philadelphia game on Sunday or not, but I get in early morning on Sunday the 7th, and I'm there until the 10th or 11th, depending. I'm not sure which. And then I'm going to head down to D.C., probably not get a Nats game because I think they're out of town,
right?
If I remember right. But that's where my nephew is, so D.C. gets a visit no matter what anyway.
That's fantastic. Are you going to get a press pass to the White House to see them get their, presidential
solid
decree?
That's not happening.
Oh yeah, probably not.
Yeah, no, that'd be a very difficult one, I think, to get in touch with.
That's not just getting a press pass. Yeah.
Hey, you guys.
That's getting a full rectal exam.
That's finding out if you can pass the Secret Service background check.
Literally, I'm showing up in a cat suit so they can tell I don't have anything on me. So yeah, if we have any listeners out on the East Coast still, which I think / hope. Yeah, if anybody who listens who's in the New York area, let's meet up at Finity's and have a chat, and we'll get you on the show with a little audio clip. Yeah, I'm definitely down.
Oh man,
but
jealous.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Catch a couple of the games in person and just hang out in New York and eat pizza and drink beer.
That sounds pretty damn good.
Yeah, not going for a month this time, mind you. I'm going for like 4 days in New York and like 2 in DC or something.
Man. You're just missing you're just missing the Nats. The Nats are out of town that Monday and Tuesday, and then they're back home that Wednesday.
Missing them, huh?
Yeah, he is.
Hey, I want to see that park too.
Yeah.
That's
My
Yeah, I'm
sister
gonna
says
be-
it's nice. She lives out there too.
Nats Park is nice. It's a little more industrial, which fits the area that it's in well. It's a lot more concrete. It looks sort of like, and it's not a cross between a baseball and football stadium per se, but it's like if people who normally made football stadiums said, let's make a ballpark and kind of got some like, and got some things for like, got good advice, it would look roughly like Nats Park.
Huh.
I don't mind it.
Interesting.
I like it well enough. I like Nats Park well enough. A lot better than I like RFK for damn sure.
Sure. Yeah, well,
But
that's not saying
right.
much.
sort of a hole. But it's compared to a lot of the other parks that I've seen, I'm still having only been like twice. I'm still trying to figure out what it is that makes Nats Park kind of special.
Mm-hmm.
And I for Nats Park, I haven't found it yet.
Okay.
I've only been twice.
Hey, that's the way I feel about.
So I never want to rag on a ballpark.
I feel
have
that
to do
way
a
about
bunch of
Levi
games there,
Stadium, to
but-
be honest. So
It's gonna be a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
years
fair.
before you guys find something special in Levi's.
I walked into Levi
No,
Stadium
man.
this year, and for a game, and was like, so it's architecturally new and wide open and green and clean and nice, and yeah, I don't
that's it.
think I like it.
Sterile.
Very sterile.
Sterile.
Very sterile. Not only that,
Yeah, I feel
but-
that way about a lot of football stadiums, though. But that may just be because I haven't been to enough of them yet.
No,
But
and I haven't
a
been
lot
to a
of-
ton of them either, but
Right.
it just did not feel like home. It was really odd. And then you have that monstrosity of a tower of luxury boxes that's like 8 stories tall, and it's like the ivory tower.
Mount Levi's.
Yeah, it's literally like the ivory tower. You're just looking up there going, yep, those are all the rich people. Okay. And they're just looking down on you, and it's blocking the sun.
Then you look up at the club section and go, those are the other rich people.
They're the
even
other
though they're
rich
on our
people,
level.
and we're
and they
still
look at the
rich
ones who are
people for paying
sitting with you on the
$200 for
first
these
level.
tickets, right?
Look around you at the nosebleed section. You're like, these are the sort of rich people because they're here.
Right.
Exactly.
So when AT&T opened up, did you guys feel like that was a sterile ballpark,
Nope.
or was it just such a Okay, there
No.
you go. There you go.
That's-
I
See,
wouldn't
that's-
even go with such a jewel per se. It's just it has personality in the outfield, and I feel that way about a lot of ballparks.
True.
Nats Park just is. There's probably a couple of distinctive features that I've just missed.
Right.
Because when I've been there, I've mostly been there with my older brother, and so I haven't gone for like a massive like walk all over it like I do with almost every other park that I go to.
Sure.
But I just haven't like caught the thing that makes me go, oh, that's what makes Nats Park, as opposed to, oh, that's what makes Nats Park a park that is much bigger than a minor league stadium.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
I said, I don't dislike it. I liked the food selection when I was there. I remember that. I liked the food selection, and there are some really great spots you can get pictures. Like, if you want baseball field selfies, Nats Park has some really good ones if you find the right spot. And the way that they show the lineup is the way they used to show the lineup was they had baseball card type photos of each player that are very large, blown up, and on the side of the team store as you come in, just sort of laid out 1 through 9.
Well, that's
Oh,
cool.
that's-
So there are some cool features they have, but they're smaller sort of subsidiary or auxiliary features. They're not like it's not like a Coke bottle or the Bay or like Mount Davis even, which if I don't
not positive.
or the Ivy
or the Ivy or the Apple.
Right.
The Apple II, or there's always something that you look out at a park and you say, this is what makes this park that park.
Yeah.
Detroit skyline and the Hall of Fame numbers along the brick wall. I mean, there's all kinds of things that will do it for different parks, and I haven't figured out what Nats Parks is
Okay,
yet.
I have to ask, and it's totally off topic, and we'll get past this in 1 minute, but what was the distinct thing for you at White Sox Park?
At the cell, what's funny is because I sat higher up. For me, it was something about the scoreboard placement and the plaza behind center field, because center field varies at any given different place.
Right.
It's nothing as distinctive for sure, because when you're on the third deck and you're out behind the seats, like where you can get food and stuff, it's kind of like Nats Park. There's not much to it. The food selection is way better than say Yankee Stadium. Every stadium's food selection is better than Yankee Stadium. But there's something about the way that the scoreboard plaza feels and looks that really was that was what really did it for me. I spent a lot of time wandering around out there, and just the field feels more accessible if you're in right field than at most other parks that I've been to. So that was what did it for me.
Yeah, I had to ask because
but there's something.
well, you guys talked about sterile.
ain't
When it
wriggling.
first
It
opened,
ain't wriggling.
Yeah, when it first opened, it was sterile. We used to call it a mall. It looked like a mall.
Sure.
Oh yeah, they opened up a shopping mall to play baseball in, but they've modified it over the years. So I was wondering. Yeah, I have the same
Yeah,
thing.
and I mean,
that center field concourse area is really just.
Well, and you grew up in a
nice.
city that had Wrigley. Like the Ivy is iconic, and that's something that we really managed to surprisingly do with the Coke bottle, but definitely do with the Bay in the background out here.
Right.
But when you go to the Cell, I mean, like the Cell's landlocked. There's not. You look out, and you sort of the angle that it's at. You're not even looking out and seeing downtown
No, you're
Chicago.
not.
You're looking out. You're seeing the South Side.
Yeah.
And that's all right, I guess. But it has its things though. But it's tough because if you're coming into a city where that's the only ballpark, you're going to find something. But to build something to try to compete with Wrigley, it was always going to be kind of a losing endeavor. I think.
I think
so.
you're just always going to be behind the 8 ball there. You're just starting.
Oh,
at a
Yeah,
disadvantage.
you kind of did what you had to do, which and I mean, coming from Comiskey too, you did what you had to do. I think.
Well, and it's funny because you see Candlestick and the Coliseum, and they're pretty much equals, except I think you'd give a thumbs up to the Coliseum because of the weather, right? It was always warmer and no fog and all that kind of stuff like that.
Oh, when it's a nice day at the Coliseum, it's freaking gorgeous.
Exactly, but now you got
As long as you don't
AT&T
try to
Park,
look for scenery.
and it's just like, well, yeah, Mount
It
Davis
ruins it.
Mount Davis now blocking the Oakland Hills, which actually were kind of a pretty vista.
Oh man, it was
before.
It was actually a decent view before.
Yeah, but now that's there.
Not anymore.
Now Oakland, their stadium is just, whew, man. But the worst stadium I've ever been to, and I haven't been to that many, maybe 8 or 9 or so. I got to see a game in the old Astrodome down in Houston back in I don't know 99 or so, and that was the most depressing place to watch baseball. I was actually kind of excited. It was a new park. I was like, hey, checked it off the list, the cool thing. And first of all, the whole Houston area I think is very depressing. But then going into this concrete monolith, it was just stale, smelled like urine. It was just gray everywhere. And when something good happened, they shoot these indoor fireworks. I don't know what genius thought of this. Indoor fireworks, boom, 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 boom. So not only is it ringing really
And
loud in
smoke
your ears,
just everywhere.
and then the smoke hangs for about 3 innings. It just dissipates and just is this general smog and haze within the dome. And then you get the
It's like
cutouts.
sit there hoping
and
nobody hits a home run.
Yeah, the pale astroturf and just everything about it. I literally left in the 8th inning. I couldn't stay. I could not stay because it was claustrophobic. And it's silly because it's a huge dome, but it was that depressing of a place to watch baseball. And I feel very happy for the folks down in Houston that they blew that shithole up and built Minute Maid Park, which I've not been to, but my wife has. And she said it was a very, very nice park. So, and I believe it. But man, I can't even imagine, the 70s, 60s and 70s were the heyday of those multi-purpose / dome stadiums, You got your Riverfront and Three Rivers and Astrodome and all those
Veterans,
guys. And,
yep.
They're veterans. They're all gone now, thank God. So it's definitely a renaissance started off by HOK Architects, I think is the name of the group that built Camden Yards in 1992.
Camden Yards.
And I've been there. I went there in 95 when it was only like 3 years old. So it was still new. And it was just, AT&T Park had not been built yet. This is 1995. And I was like, this is what needs to go in San Francisco. That was just a gem. I mean, I just loved being in that park. It was beautiful. Plus, Will Clark came in with the Rangers to play the Orioles. So that was kind of an extra treat to see him play that
bonus.
night. But yeah, so it's just really nice.
They're just
to see
using
kind of
Will
this
Clark to win
renaissance.
your vote.
What's that?
They're just using Will Clark to win your vote.
Yeah, well, if he played at the Astrodome, I probably would have thought that was the greatest place too. So
I mean, he hit one at the Astrodome.
Nolan Ryan,
Really? I never
Yep.
heard that.
first
No, I'm
at
just kidding.
first at
I'm
bat.
totally.
Yeah,
I'm
you know
totally
we never
screwed
talk
around.
about
I know
that
you're
when we talk
screwed.
about Will Clark.
I know you're screwing with us.
It's a secret one from the archives,
It's totally secret. No one knows about it. All right,
You're
let's
such
move
a
on.
hipster with your classic home runs, Chad. All right, we've run a little long. Let's
That was
let's
my
go
fault.
ahead.
Sorry.
Oh,
We have
Nope.
That's okay.
That was a fun tangent, but I just like ballparks. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, I do too,
So-
and because my favorite one growing up was Wrigley, and the one I hated the most was Wrigley
Yep.
There you-
because it
That
was
seems
beautiful,
totally
but it was a
legitimate.
dump. So I'm glad
Yeah.
they're fixing that one. Sorry. All right, go on.
No problem.
I will say,
on
Oakland's
to-
new scoreboards really nice. Okay, moving on.
It's bright.
I actually really like the new scoreboards. It
And
doesn't
Chris
really take
Bryant
anything
wants
away
to
from the park.
destroy it,
Surprise.
apparently.
Chris Bryant destroys all the scoreboards.
Yeah. He's like
Chris Bryant and Giancarlo Stanton are not going to leave any scoreboards left in the National League by the time they're done.
No, I think that thing's going to be repaired every series after they leave town. All right, let's move on to our new favorite guy. I'll start it off. Brandon Belt, because even though he had another 2 RBI tonight, but he has been hot lately. 7 home runs in 17 games, and he's one of the main reason the Giants offense has been clicking on all cylinders before this 3-game losing streak. So he's my guy. What about you, Eric?
I mentioned him earlier. I'm going with Hunter Strickland. I threw the stats out. I mean, the guy's just been lights out since he's come up, and he's allowed 1 hit and 7 1/3, 8 Ks, no walks, no runs. So I as much as everybody else was very mad at Hunter Strickland back in October of last year. We kind of laughed it off because they won, but
Yep.
I'm really glad to see that he bounced back, and like you brought up, Chad, he's working on a 2-seamer and apparently incorporating it better. So Hunter's really started to prove himself at the major league level. So he's my new favorite guy.
Good. Ben?
When in doubt, you just kind of go with the if Hunter Pence is the emotional center of the team, Buster Posey is sort of the logical center of the team. He's always got a clear head. He's always grounded, always kind of taking charge. He is our team captain America, and I'm going to go with the guy who's got the 8 home runs and who's second on the team in RBIs, and who's out there catching 4 out of 5 nights every time the rotation comes up. So. Buster Posey's my guy for this one around, and I don't usually pick the obvious choice, but I'm going to go with Buster this time. I do have an honorary mention, as I often do.
Right?
I do. I always have an honorary mention, but it's a guy that, as opposed to the guy who's been doing really well, the guy that we just like. And I think we touched on it earlier. I think Casey McGee is our new favorite guy. Took the high road, talked about how he took the job away from Bill Hall when he was coming up, and sort of told Duffy, "Look, it ain't your fault. You created a situation where you had to push them to make a decision, and that's what you had to do. That's what you were supposed to do." So
is he supposed to lay off to
right, like don't right, like oh hey Rook, don't come in here and mess with my turf. They signed me to do that. Nope, nah. McGee just says you forced the issue, and they had to go with what they had to do, and I'm not holding up my end of the bargain for them. So okay, good job, you're fine. And apparently McGee had been good for Duffy like the entire time that he'd been in the dugout with him, was always providing some suggestions and advice and stuff. And they sound like they had a really good relationship. And just, you always hear about, like, we're bringing in this guy, he's a veteran, he's going to be able to talk to the other guys on the staff. But it's nice when you hear it from the players saying, yeah, that's what happened. So I like McGee. I'd like to see him back with the team. I don't want to see him starting until we've got a good feeling that he's kind of gotten going. But I do want to see him back with the team. I think that'd be nice, and we're certainly paying him enough money to get some use out of him.
I hope it... Look, I like the guy. He's Santa Cruz native, Giants fan growing up.
Yep.
I do want to see him do well, and there's a lot of fodder that he just put too much pressure on himself because he cares that much, and he likes this team, and he wanted to perform well for the Bay Area, and he knew he had big shoes to fill, in Panda's slot, and maybe it was a mental thing. So maybe he gets his head straight down in AAA. Maybe the spotlight's off of him, and he can relax a little bit. He had a 3-run home run tonight for Sacramento, by the way. So maybe his performance will turn around here. So seems like a good guy.
Sounds promising.
All right, so we should hate this guy. Eric, why don't you lead this one off?
I touched on it earlier, and I put one of the tweets out there yesterday. But there was the word vitriol has been used like 3 times already. There was so much hate.
Because it is.
Yeah, there was so much hate spewed yesterday after that collapse in the 9th inning by the Giants, and I hate every single person that took the time out of their life to tweet bad things to Crawford and his wife yesterday, because they weren't just tagging Brandon in them; they were tagging Jay Lynn, right? Yeah. They were tagging her in them as well, and nobody needs that. I mean, I'm talking, insulting the city of San Francisco, jumping on the "you probably take it" and stuff like that, and calling them, horrible names. And it's just, I hate every single person that did that. I wish every single person that did that got what was coming to them. And I don't wish bad upon people. But if you're going to wish bad upon people, well, then maybe you need to look in the mirror. If any of you are listening, you need to reevaluate your life if it's important to you to say horrible things to athletes on Twitter.
Yeah. It's fine to have a reaction. I mean, we were driving home from, and by the way, I haven't taken my family to a Giants game in years because my son's a little too young to enjoy the game, and I can never watch the game. So it's a lot of money to go to the Coke bottle slide and leave early in the 7th inning, and it just doesn't seem worth it. But we had 4 tickets to go, and then of course my my wife's sister scheduled her daughter's baptism for Sunday, and of course it's the whole like, we got to go, and I'm like, but we got tickets kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, make me happy. All right, we'll go. Yeah. One of those
Happy
things.
wife, happy
Happy
life.
wife, happy life. So, fortunately, I was able to sell the tickets, so at least financially, we'll be able to reinvest in another game. But we were driving home from Concord and happened to listen to the ninth inning, and I turned on the radio. First pitch we heard was the home run by Freeman. I was like, "Oh, all right, well, one out. All right, let's go." Then the walk happened, and that's where I started to curse under my breath. And my wife was like, "It's just the walk. What's wrong with that?" You know, and it's just like, "Yeah, you don't understand. What if that comes around and beats a tying run?"
She's not totally wrong, and neither were you. That's a tough one.
That's right. And then it was to hear John Miller on the radio. There's a ground ball. This should be 2, and he boots the ball. I mean, he literally had time to say, "This should be 2," and then he boots the ball. And yeah, I had a visceral reaction in the car. I did a little fist pump in the old rooftop. You know, the whole like, that was the end of the game. That was a game. My wife's like, calm down, they'll get out of it. I'm like, what if they don't? You know, that kind of thing. But it takes it to another level when people literally have to get on their Twitter machines and publicly say these horrible things about a professional athlete and his wife, for God's sakes. Like, his wife is, first of all, it's bad enough to do it against the athlete, which it's just a physical error. It's a game, whatever. They're millionaires. You're pathetic if you get it to that extreme. But it's another level to then involve that player's wife, like she had anything to do with dropping the ball, you know?
Right.
So I agree with you, Eric.
She literally texted him on his, fancy new Apple Watch the instant that the ball came out.
With
like,
a little
no.
heartbeat. I love you.
Right.
Right.
I sent a digital touch.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
Pretty bad.
It's just, it's low. It's really low.
So if you're one of those people, you're the scum of the earth out there. But everybody else, I love you.
The rest of you that chose not to do that are great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they're, actual people who live in a civilization.
The ones who thought about it, still okay. You didn't do it.
Exactly, and that's what separates us from the animals.
That's right. You can think about things, just don't act upon them.
Right.
Chad, who have you got? You got a little hate going on?
So, yeah, hey, Juan Uribe. I mean, obviously this guy was just traded from the Dodgers to the Braves. And apparently he broke down in the clubhouse and actually couldn't even talk to the media because he was pretty devastated by it. But apparently he took out his frustrations on the Giants because he pretty much torched him this weekend. A couple of bombs, lots of RBIs, a lot of extra base hits, and he kind of killed the Giants in the 2 losses. He wasn't necessarily game-winning RBIs, but if it wasn't for him, I don't think the Braves would have won both games, maybe one of them. So yeah, just because he's fresh out of the Dodger blue and an ex-Giant, I don't truly hate the guy, but still hate him for what he did over the series. And then honorary mention is AJ Pierzynski because he's AJ Pierzynski.
Boo!
He comes out and it's the boo birds come out.
I didn't even boo Uribe, and that was apparently.
I would never boo. That's the funny thing. It's
He's
like,
not a Dodger anymore.
He's not a Dodger anymore. So
never ever.
When he was getting booed, I was like, "What are you?"
He escaped.
What are you guys doing? Like, why are you booing this guy? This is ridiculous. But and then AJ comes up and he's booed, which I would heartily participate in. And then it's one of those things where, like, if you're going to kill the Giants, hit a home run, but he hits this goddamn Texas leaguer into right field. He's completely jammed on it, right? And it falls just beyond Panic's reach, which then, of course, loads the bases, and he ends up scoring the 3rd run on the triple, and he's coming across home plate with the whole, like, yeah, kind of expression and attitude. He's just one of those guys you just want to punch repeatedly in the face with a mallet.
Oh, I was going to say a baseball bat, but yeah, that works.
Some hard,
don't
blunt
waste a good bat on
instrument.
that. Fair.
Again, I can think about it, just not act upon it.
Is it a crappy Easton? Fine. You can use an Easton bat. Fine.
He's just one of those guys you can't help but actually literally hate. I have such revulsion for that individual. And to see him, even though he got jammed, he didn't put good wood on the bat, and he got lucky, he still succeeded. And it just kills me that he had a hand in the Giants' defeat
Sound
yesterday.
of gears grinding.
Yeah, so that kind of sucked. What about you, Ben?
I don't know, you guys. I don't. It's kind of tough to hate anybody after like an 8-game and then a 5-game win streak.
Yeah,
like
holding back.
I can't really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I'll hate on the overshift that everyone's using against Brandon Belt because now he's starting to go against it. He's finally starting to like scatter hits a little bit better. He's hit a couple of opposite field home runs. He's even bunted once last year, so help me. And they keep still dropping shifts, like massive overshifts on him. And it's not like the Giants never use overshifts, although not very often. But just, I guess if I'm going to hate on anything, I guess I'll just hate on that because it's being used against Brandon Belt pretty much consistently. Yeah. And it just doesn't. It feels like he's finally starting to break the massive pull heavy habit that earned him that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. There's something about overshifts, like defensive shifts. I don't mind. There's something about overshifts that are just like, well, you don't know how to hit to the opposite field, so the hell with you.
Yeah.
You couldn't slap a hit if your life depended on it.
That's been killing me. I want to see him bunt down that line so bad.
He's done it once.
I just want to see him.
Yeah.
I see him do it more.
Great. I'd like to see him do it again.
I mean, they're going to give him that unless he does it every time, which he's not going to do. So I guess that's the point. But still, it would be nice. Like if he's leading off an inning and you need a leadoff batter, why not? Do it.
I mean, he's been going opposite field more often too. It's just he needs to do it often enough that teams go, oh, I guess we should probably put somebody on that side.
They got their split charts, exactly until it adjusts.
People have been letting like 20 hits have rolled through that left side of the infield, right where the third baseman would have been. We should probably do something about this.
Yeah,
eventually. All right. Well, on that low note, as always, traditionally. Why are we going to win it, you guys? What thing is going to take the Giants from a terrible April, an outstanding May, and hopefully a very Pence-filled June, July, August, and September straight into the playoffs?
Play like May. That's it. Boom. Done. Seriously.
Play like. You're not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all.
I'm so specific.
Way to break that one down.
I know. Baseball is hard.
The high level analysis here.
Well, shit, if they go 21-9 every month, they're gonna win it all.
Right.
Score more runs than their opposition.
But it's okay. The Nationals will still be the favorites.
No, I'll go next.
Alrighty.
I'll let you end on that note because you guys got good things going right now. Yeah. Apparently I don't know how to spell either. Strength up the middle. I really like what I've seen lately from Posey, Panic, Crawford, and even Pagan. Not so much Pagan with the bat, just Pagan running around the outfield. They seem to have anchors at every single position up the middle, and it's always felt like when they're strong in that core area. I've always been a firm believer if you're strong up the middle, then you're pretty well and strong. If you got a catcher that can throw it to a shortstop and a second baseman that can catch and turn it, if you have a center fielder who knows how to handle the outfield and handle the other outfielders, to me that's the mark of a really good team. And the Giants have that straight up the middle from Posey, Panic, Crawford, and Pagan.
Right.
And occasionally Blanco, who also is no slouch in center field.
Oh heck no, he's a better fielder than Pagan, but
I don't even not a better batter.
Right.
Agreed. I'm actually, just because it's timely. And it's where things are right now. I'm going to go ahead and say that the team clearly is going to win because they will use the Warriors for inspiration. Obviously, that's all it takes is having a basketball team succeed in your area. There are a lot of similarities, with the exception of the Warriors didn't sneak into these playoffs. There's a lot of similarities between the we haven't won in forever and the we haven't won in forever, and Giants fans know how that goes. Just play nice and share your team with the A's because Warriors fans come from everywhere. They're the only team we've got out here. But that's going to be it. It's going to be on the back of a remarkable run by Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the Warriors. The Giants are going to coast into the postseason. I don't even know how. Belt's going to hit 20 jacks. That's it. That's how. Definitely that.
I like it.
Maybe 25.
I hope he does. I picked 27, so I hope he does. Yeah.
Pick 27. All right. Yeah. I'm going to go with 25 only because that's the first number that came into my head after 20.
Nice.
So 19. I'll take it.
He's gonna end up one short.
Smart ass.
No, I'm pretty jacked up about the Warriors. Obviously, been a fan for a very long time. Not as diehard as with the Giants, but first time in 40 years since they've won the finals when I was 2 years old or so. So clearly don't remember those days. So it's going to be pretty exciting. So yeah, hopefully they pull it off. The Giants kind of look at that and say, "Hey, look, this is what we did last year. Let's do this again." Hopefully it'll fire them up and avoid this damn June swoon that we always seem to talk about every damn year.
It's not even like the weather is that bad in June. Not any worse than in May, anyway.
No.
So,
I don't know
not
what
around
it is,
here.
man. I don't know it's about June. It is what it is. All right, well, that's going to wrap up episode 87 of the Torture Cast. Willie couldn't be with us tonight, but he did cover the Giants game for the press box, so look for some information coming from him. In fact, he, 2 or 3 nights ago, he attended a Giants subreddit get-together, and he actually recorded an interview with one of the moderators of that site. So look for that soon. He's going to be posting that up as a bonus sode in the next day or two. You can also follow Willie Dills at Willie Dills. You can follow us collectively at TortureCast. You can also follow me at ChadK21. You can follow Ben at Fried Duck, and you can follow Eric at 2OutHits. You can find all of our information and show notes and stories and all the other fun stuff at torturecast.com. You can follow us on Twitter, like I just said, or like us on Facebook. In fact, we're getting pretty close to 1,000 likes, so go on over there and hit that thumbs up button. You guys have anything to pimp?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. If anyone's interested in Disney World, I think Eric's got some Disney stuff that he's going to be writing.
I do, but I don't want to pimp that.
Baseball
here.
blogs and Disney stuff.
A little different.
I've been doing some work with the Geek blog lately.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of fun. Ace of Geek stuff.
My other major fandom besides sports and baseball. They're at aceofgeeks.net. The Ace of Geeks. I occasionally appear on their Geekly Roundup podcast, and I write their Geekly Roundup articles just about every weekend. Usually staying up until like 3 a.m. to do it. So go and enjoy the fruits of my labor. But it's fun. We kind of take it with a little bit of a quote unquote social justice warrior aspect. We are firm believers in equality and strongly anti-bullying and anti-misogyny and just don't be a douche.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think the majority of our listeners can get behind. So, yeah, if you like geeky stuff and you like decent people and decent human beings and terrible senses of humor, because I'm there writing, which means obviously it's going to be just real bad.
Yeah.
Check out the Ace of Geeks at aceofgeeks.net. That's my other big thing right now.
No, I've read some of your stuff, Ben. Actually, I think it's really, really good. Haven't had a chance to listen to the stuff.
It's because you didn't read close enough, but I appreciate it anyway.
Oh, man, that's pretty good. So, yeah, we're going to be covering, obviously, more games this year. I know Ben hasn't made it out to the yard yet, but...
I've made it out. Maybe? I haven't made it to the press box yet. It's going to happen. I have made it 2 games. I just haven't made it to... As
a member of the press. That's right.
I haven't torture casted my way into any games yet. Yes.
Yeah, because, this year they have given us Clubhouse access, so we do have pre- and post-game access to those players. I don't think Willie's done much work with the players, but I've had a couple interviews, and hopefully we'll expand that for the rest of the year, try to grab some other interviews with some Giants personalities amongst the players. And other than that, let's hope the Giants can break this 3-game losing streak. We should be back next Monday, actually. It's an off day, so we won't be fretting about it.
It's not a June swoon when it's June 1st, people.
I know. I actually tweeted out earlier today, June, and I got a little bit of flack for that. It was a joke. Come on. It was June. That's all June. Period.
It's not about how we're doing. It's about the general sense of dread you get.
I was like, no, stop that.
There's history behind
it's
that
one day. And I'm like, June. Say it again. So, yeah, hopefully we'll just laugh at this when they went 6-1 for the week or something like that. But anyway, hope you join us next Monday night. You can also find us on iTunes and Stitcher and all the various internet podcasting places. But for the absent Willie, for Ben, and for Eric, I'm Chad King, and signing off episode 87 of the Torture Cast. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.